Howdy folks, and welcome back to World of Tanks. It's been a while, hasn't it? It's been a while since I've actually done a sit-down voiceover video, and by God has a lot changed in World of Tanks. We've had new tanks, new maps, lots of map changes, lots of changes to mechanics and matchmakers, all part of 2.0. However, today's video is about one particular tank, the T803, which is a brand new Tier 11 American heavy tank. It was introduced in 2.0 with the first set of Tier 11 tanks that we got. Now, the reason why I'm showing you these two replays I've got for you today is essentially showing you how fantastic this tank is. I've been having a heck of a lot of fun with it, and I actually think it's probably the best Tier 11 heavy tank in the game at the moment. Now this is all subject to change. We do have another rebalancing patch coming in a couple of weeks, so we'll have to see what happens with the T803. As I do think it is genuinely an incredibly good tank, and these replays will just show this. The first replay is showing just how great this tank is at using ridge lines and dishing out damage really quickly. This tank has a 410 alpha gun on it, which is actually on the lower end of the Tier 11 heavies, believe it or not. Kind of similar to how the other American heavies have gone on this line. If you think down the line, you've got the T32 at Tier 8, which again I absolutely adore and think is a fantastic tank. You've got the M103, the T110E5, which again is a great tank. Many are also saying that the T110E5 should have been what this tank is at Tier 11. You still have that kind of massive weak spot on top of the tank, the cupola, but it's less aggressive, I suppose. So apart from the BZ79, yeah, it has the worst Tier 8 gun, Tier 11 gun, I'd say. It's got the worst Tier 11 heavy pen apart from that BZ79, but actually it's got the best rate of fire in comparison by quite a considerable amount. We'll go into some statistics after this gameplay here, but we'll see without touching any crews or equipment, just running the tank stock, you get an additional round per minute compared to all of the other Tier 11 heavy tanks currently available. So this tank, what is it all about? It's a good all-rounder, and I think that's why I like it. You can play a very diverse game with this. You've got good turret armor, and you've got really good gun depression. Again, one of the best gun depressions for Tier 11 heavies at the moment in the game. So you can utilise this tank alongside its pretty decent mobility. It's not amazing, but it's good for a heavy tank. You can make flanking manoeuvres. You can manoeuvre across the map and impact different flanks. And along with the gun and its new reloading mechanic, you can dip in and out of fights, kind of similar to like a medium tank almost, and really make a positive impact. So what actually is the reload mechanic on this tank? So each of the Tier 11 tanks, you get a particular mechanic which you get to upgrade as time goes on using the new module upgrades, and it is generally at the moment unique to your singular tank until they start bringing in more Tier 11s. So with the T803 you get a semi, or as Wargaming is calling it, a semi-automatic ammo rack. So what this means is every hit you do, doesn't matter whether it pens or not, it actually boosts your reload time, so it will decrease the amount of time it takes to load a shell. And you probably saw it there in the previous gameplay there, that even if you don't pen, so if you go for a tracking shot for example, you're able to decrease your reload time, as you just saw there. you get this little shiny bar, this glowing yellow bar on the left hand side of your reticle. This will climb as you shoot over and over and over, but it does cool down. So for example, where I'm playing this now, using this ridge line, utilising the gun depression and the turret armour to make an impact on this flank, I'm not really shooting a lot. The hits I do hit, even though I'm not penning, that bar does still start to go upwards. Now this will decrease as time goes on. It decreases pretty rapidly actually. So if you're kind of out of a dogfight, you probably won't see the benefits of that mechanic. However, if you are in a dogfight, you will see the benefits and you will reap the benefits. I believe the reload is 7 or 8 seconds on this, completely stock, without any equipment and crew, and without any of this special ability kind of buff, as you'd call it. And you can bring this down to kind of around the 6-second mark, maybe just higher than that, when you've completely filled that bar up. So as you can imagine, you're doing 410 alpha. Yeah, you've got mediocre pen, but you know, if you're in a dogfight, you know, you should be able to locate weak spots and fight pretty well in this tank. So with this tank, it's you don't particularly want to be you know, dogfighting on heavy flanks every single game. I would probably say you want to be finding spots just like this on this map, where you probably wouldn't take a traditional heavy tank. This tank really does work well in situations like this, where you've got that excellent turret armour, albeit you have got the cupola weak spot, alongside the gun depression and the pretty good reload time. You can seriously keep people's heads down and change the kind of the mechanic and the decision of a flank and how it might go. You know, if I wasn't in this position, they would have overrun the back chat by now and would probably be pushing the ABC line potentially. But where we're here now, we're keeping 3-4 of their tanks down, which is allowing our team to either put shots in, reassess, allow the other flank to make their push move. So it does make a big positive impact. In the previous game you saw, where we are in a dogfight, you're able to see just how much damage you can output. We ended that game on just under 4.5k, I think, just over. And when you're using that reload mechanic and you've got the reload buff there, you're able to just shoot and shoot and shoot, and you're able to get 2 shots in before your enemy heavy tank has potentially reloaded. And in some cases, depending on the tank, at tier 9, 10 and 11 you're up against, for example, some of the BZs, or some of the more hard hitting tanks that have got the longer reloads, you're able to put potentially 3 shots into them, maybe 4, who knows. And all of a sudden you've done 410, 820 on average, then you're into 1200, so you're able to output some seriously mean damage, which is just great to see. It's a fantastic tank. However, there are some weak points to this tank. Now, we've already gone over that it's got the worst tier 11 heavy pen, apart from the BZ79, but the BZ79 has like massive alpha. It's like 700 or 800 a shot, so you can kind of understand that. With this, you're going to find that you're going to be shooting heat quite a bit. You will be in a lot of situations where the gun won't be performing how you expect it to be. It's a relatively accurate gun within reason, but when it comes to, you know, shooting hold down tanks, shooting super heavies, that sort of stuff, this tank does struggle, and you will find yourself shooting a lot of heat ammunition, so premium rounds. So it can get a bit expensive. Of course, you know, you don't have to, but to really make an impact in the game, you do feel like you have to, as a necessity, fire heat at this tank. Alright, so we've seen the gameplay and we've had a bit of a chat about what this tank can do. Let's actually look at this on paper and compare it to its competitors at the same tier. So at the moment we've got 6 heavy tanks in the game as of the end of September. We've got the KR1, which is the predecessor to the IS-7, so that's the tier 10 Russian heavy. So this one, similar characteristics compared to the IS-7. So we'll take a look and compare that. We've got the Imbattable, which is the French one, the Contriver, the English one, or the British. With China, we've got the BZ-79. And then we've got the German Super Heavy, which comes after the Mouse. So it's a Super Mouse, essentially. The Taschen Rash, if you want to pronounce it like that. I've got no idea how to properly pronounce it. So, firepower-wise, you can probably see why I'm thoroughly enjoying the gun on this tank at the moment. Firepower scored at 601. You've got 410 Alpha, which, as you can see along here, alongside the Imbattable, is one of the worst for its, compared to all the others. BZ-79, 690 per shot. KR1's even doing 530 per shot. And the KR1, oddly, is for a Russian heavy, it's got one of the better penetrations in the game, similar to the German. Rate of fire, though, there's no other tier 11 heavy tank at the moment that really comes close to the T803. You get just under 7 rounds, and bear in mind all of these tanks are currently in their stock configurations, so no crew with crew skills, no proper equipment, no food, standard shells. Gun reloading time, so as we said earlier, without the gun cooling mechanic, it's 8.63 seconds. Compared to a lot of the others, the KR1 is 13.4, it's 13.5 seconds for, frankly, 100 more alpha per shot. But when we bring the gun cooling mechanic into this as well, and you're potentially able to bring this down to like 7 seconds, 6 seconds, and you're doing 410, the T803 just seems like a no-brainer in that sense. Along with the gun depression, we've got -10 on gun depression, similar to the Contriver. Imbattable, pretty much the same, -9, closely followed by the BZ and the Super Heavy. But with the Russian Heavy, as expected, it's got barely any gun depression at -6 there. Aim time, again, T803 is in the lead at 2.92. Really good aim time there. Depending on how you build your tank out, this tank is actually really good at snapping. I have found that it's really good at just bringing the gun round and taking a shot at somebody and actually hitting them without actually having to aim very much. So that brings us on to the average damage per minute, your DPM. So best DPM stock, again, by a pretty fair margin. The Contriver just comes in short, 2754 compared to our 2851. But you are lacking that rate of fire, really. And the average damage is slightly higher on the Contriver. Survivability wise, pretty much the same across the board, to be honest with you. This is probably about middle ground, I'd say. Survivability is 559 on the score stock. Your hull armor 216, which is one of the best. Especially if you angle it, you do find that you're able to bounce just like the T110E5. You kind of angle round the corners, like as you drive around. The hull can be quite derpy. And you will find that you're probably bounce quite a few shots. Doesn't matter what it is, I've been bouncing shots from quite high pen TDs, just by slightly angling the actual hull, upper and lower plates. You will actually bounce a fair few. Turret armor, not as good as the KR1, but with all the angles and the gun depression, I am finding that it's pretty much the same. I know the KR1 is pretty damn good hold down. It's not as good because of the cupola, definitely not. But yeah, it's still a really good tank when it's actually in the game. I've had barely any issues. The only place people are able to pen is on the cupola. You might find somebody will be able to pen through the actual plate next to the gun on the turret, but it's been very rare that I've actually witnessed that myself so far. Mobility wise, the Imbattible's a lot more mobile, but this still feels really mobile in comparison to a lot of other like high tier heavies. You're still able to, jump across the flank and actually make an impact without, feeling like you're just, a slug on the map, just moving really slowly. And concealment for a heavy tank is kind of, irrelevant anyway. And same with the spotting. But we've got 400 view range. And same with camo, we've got 5.3. It's pretty much the same across the board there. The BZ does seem to have a little more camo compared to everybody else, so that's nice, I suppose. So let's upgrade all these tanks. What we'll do is we'll put repairs and brothers in arms on, as those are generally the two most people go for first. And we'll put some standard issued equipment on all of them. We'll put gun rammer on. We'll put hardening on, and we'll put vents on, just to kind of see what a very basic kind of build. Not to say that you should be running that equipment on all of these, but for most heavies probably so. So we'll put that on, as most people use that, and we'll see what the statistics look like after. Okay, so everything configured, everything looks a little bit better, obviously. So what we've done is, just like I said last, we've put some standard equipment on. Apart from the Imbattable and Contriever, everything's got hardening, rammer and vents, just to kind of see what the statistics looks like with that on, as they are common pieces of equipment that people use. With the Imbattable and Contriever, I've just put vert stabs on, just to fill the slot, and it's always good to see kind of what vert stabs does there anyway. Alongside that, we've made sure that we've fully researched all of the upgrades on each of them as well, to take a look at. So, we haven't put food on, primarily because, yes, food's going to make a small impact on all of the statistics here, but it's not great enough for us to actually value that, and a lot of people don't run food, so we'll keep it out of this. So, T803. Your DPM basically goes through the roof, to be honest with you. It's absolutely crazy. You've got 3,318 DPM. If you were interested in putting food on it, no, that's excellent fuel. So if we put food on it, case of cola, pop it on there, the DPM does go up by a little bit to 3,466, just so you can see it in action there. So I would definitely run food on the T803, 100%. Rate of fire, all of a sudden we've got almost 8 rounds. And that's excluding the fact that you've got the gun cooling mechanic in place here. So you put that in place, you're potentially shooting 9 rounds, 10 rounds a minute, which is brilliant for a heavy tank, absolutely fantastic. So your gun loading is 7.59 to begin with, and you can bring that down as you dogfight. Gun depression is -10. Your aiming time drops considerably as well, to 1.78. So compared to some of the others, we are looking at kind of a similar one with the Contriever and the Super Heavy. Survivability, of course, the Super Heavy is going to outweigh all of these others. Mobility wise, not much changes here. Battable, still pretty quick. And spotting does increase a little bit, obviously. But the main thing is that firepower. The firepower on the T-803 at the moment is just insane, in my opinion. And if you can keep the gun firing, you are going to end up with 4K, 5K games as a bog standard. You know, if you are a decent player, I don't see why you can't be getting like a 4K5 game pretty much consistently. And if you are someone with more experience, you could be looking at 6K, 7K plus games on the regular in the T803 if you're smart about using the flanks and keeping the map awareness, you know, at the forefront of when you do play all of your games. It's finding those avenues to actually play, and that's where you're going to make the biggest impact with this tank, 110%. So one thing I wanted to point out really quickly is the armor model on the T803. Now we're going to use the new fancy flashy in-game armor model that Wargaming has put into the game. So from the front we can see the hull at the bottom is angled, similar to a lot of its other American allied tanks. So we've got a bit of a bulge going on here. So you will find that you are bouncing a lot of shots off this. If you do kind of angle round like this, round the corner for example. Upper plate, 216 roughly. So again, you're going to be bouncing a fair few shots off that. It's pretty good. Cupola wise on the turret, when you do bring this hold down, kind of flat, the cupola is pretty easy to pen, to be honest with you, for a lot of like tier 9 tanks, so I would be careful about that. A lot of people will raise their gun, they'll raise the gun to block this. The risk with this is there's a weak spot under here, right there. Now if you raise your gun, people will go for this, especially with the new flashlight model. This will show up as green, and this is an immense weak spot when you're trying to hide your cupola. So just be thoughtful about that when you are actually kind of, you know, dogfighting and wiggling your turret about and trying to hide your cupola. This does become a weak spot underneath the gun mantlet. You know, side scraping wise, you can do some side scraping in there, but the sides are pretty weak anyway. And just be careful of people slightly above you as well. Some of the higher tanks in the game, they will be able to pen, especially this part of your turret here. They will be able to pen that pretty much straight away. And it's the same with the cupola around the edges there. If you are kind of fighting at an angle, just be wary of all of these little sections on your tank where people might be able to hit you there if you are side scraping or angling around and you know, on the flanks and stuff. So just be careful of that. But overall, it's a good tank. Hold down, you know, dogfighting. It is a very strong tank to play with. So yeah, that's the T803. Hopefully you took some away from this video. I try and make them as educational as possible, as much as I like to ramble on. Give this tank a try. It's definitely worth it. If you are up the American heavy line, definitely give this a go. It's worth a grind. You know, even if we do find that this tank does get slightly rebalanced, I do still feel like it's going to be an absolutely excellent tank right now and far into the future as well. You've got a plethora of those gun upgrades you could do there in the upgrade section to really make it your own, I suppose. If you haven't already, drop a follow, subscribe to the channel and drop us a like. Comment below how you're enjoying this tank, how you're finding this tank. I'd be intrigued to know. Of course, all of this is all just my opinion, so do take it with a pinch of salt. And yeah, I'd love to hear your feedback. So yeah, other than that, I'll catch you guys in the next video. Bye.